Hello, Chapel Warriors. Good evening. Thank you to all that have joined us here tonight. We're going to discuss some more information regarding the Michael Chappell case. So as you jump on, make sure to leave your comments. Let us know that you are watching. We value that to know that this is important to you as well. So first off, you know what? This is a very logical question that many people ask. Will the crooked Danny Porter ever be held liable? Today, we're going to be talking about the bar complaint against him. And so, Henry, first, I want to know, what is the basis for a bar complaint and this one in particular?
So the State Bar of Georgia is tasked by the Supreme Court of Georgia to enforce the rules of professional conduct to all attorneys in the state of Georgia, and that would include prosecutors, prosecuting attorneys, ADAs, things of that nature. Famously, you may remember the case of the prosecutor down in Brunswick, Georgia, associated with the Ahmaud Arbery case. She has been, I believe, disciplined by the bar. Other attorneys have been disbarred for various violations of the Code of Professional Conduct. And so what the bar bar complaint is it's Mike's complaint to the Bar Association. And I'll just read you the first paragraph. It says, "I charge former Gwinnett County District Attorney, now private practice attorney Daniel J. Porter with violations/crimes of the standards set forth in the national and state rules of professional conduct, as well as violations of federal and state statutes for evidence preservation, discovery, and the criminal code." So we're asking the bar to look at very specific instances where Danny Porter broke the rules. One of the first things that pops up is the deals that he negotiated with and enforced with his state's witnesses. One of those being the victim's son, Michael Thompson. We know that he was being prosecuted for a number of financial crimes during the lead up to Mike's trial. And we also know that he was notified, we know this now, that he was notified just 3 days before the murder that he had to show cause why he had not paid several $1,000s in back child support. Well, that would have in and of itself been considered impeachment material. Mm-hmm. And Mike's attorneys asked Danny Porter for any and all discovery evidence, any exculpatory evidence, which would include deals with state's witnesses and also impeachment evidence against state's witnesses. Danny Porter said that none of this existed. And we didn't know for years after the trial that not only did it exist, but Danny Porter intentionally concealed it from the jury, from the defense, and from the judge. And so that's a straight up violation. Mm-hmm. We also got into the violation as it were with the dispatch tape. Same thing. And we have Danny Porter's words now to Savannah Levins and to Sean Kipe publicly saying, "Well, I didn't present the dispatch tape because it was a strategic trial decision." And we know that strategically, had the jury heard that tape, they would have known that Michael Chappell wasn't at the crime scene. He wasn't at the Gwenco muffler shop. And since you can't be two places at one time, that means he couldn't have committed the murder. And so essentially it destroyed his case. So strategically, he didn't want his case destroyed. He wanted his career to be benefited by prosecuting Michael Chappell. And so that's what he did. He didn't care about the truth. And what we're asking the bar is to look at what he said, look at the rules, and the rules that were violated, and please discipline him accordingly. And so now we've received let me not get ahead of myself. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's what the next one was going to be, though, because what did the state end up doing? How did they respond on this?
Well, and so what I want to do is I want to go back to Mike's first bar complaint, which he filed several years ago. And at that time, the Bar Association dismissed his claim because of time bar issues. They said you didn't bring this complaint in the correct amount of time. They essentially said you had 4 years to bring this complaint, and so they dismissed it. So now with all of the new evidence resetting the clock, the conversations with Daniel Porter and the open records request that garnered us the dispatch tape, that all occurred in 2022. So those same rules would give us until 2026 to make this bar complaint. And so I wanted to note that that's the reason they dismissed his claim the first time. Well, this time they didn't say that. In fact, they said if Mike gets a ruling at the habeas, or they didn't say habeas, but they said in court, and of course we have the habeas coming up in June, but they said if Mike gets a ruling, then he can refile, and essentially it won't count against him. The time won't count against him. So what they're saying is that they don't want to do their job unless the court does its job. So if Long County does its job and gives a favorable ruling to Mike, well, then of course they'll entertain the bar complaint. But I don't believe that's the mandate from the Supreme Court. I believe the Supreme Court says you need to enforce these rules of professional standards, these rules of professional conduct. And we're not saying that he will only have broken those laws if the habeas rules in our favor. It doesn't matter what the habeas does. He's already broken those rules. He's already broken those standards. And we're asking the bar to look at that. And so that's kind of our position. And, I posted in my post earlier today, my email to the Bar Association. And essentially that's what I said. Hey, do your job,
Mm-hmm.
Don't kick the can down the road. Do your job.
Right. Passing the buck, as they say, exactly what they're doing. And I want to tell our followers here, Chapel Warriors, we appreciate y'all so much. And, we're coming on giving you all of these updates. And I know you're sitting there going, when are we going to have some good news? Well, the good news is we are closer than ever before, even back when the trial itself actually happened, of having the evidence presented and proving Mike's innocence. So that is something to shout about. And the other thing is that we want to stay encouraged, because these things are procedural. They're things that just have to happen. And so we're going to go after all of them. And whatever they come back with is what they come back with. And we just keep going up the rungs of the ladder until we get Mike out. But this is what we want to stay focused on. It's that habeas filing, that habeas hearing that is it's set on the calendar now for June 30th. That could change. Of course, we talked about last week that we are hoping that they will allow people in. And if so, of course, it is a virtual event, but they may allow people in the courtroom. And if so, we want an audience there. But for now, Henry, I want you to touch on a little bit about the call, write, and scream and how you shifted focus.
Well, so two things are happening with Call, Write, Scream. People will have noticed that I included the general counsel for the Bar Association. They have dismissed this, and I don't know that there's any redress for that, other than we just need to tell them, hey, we expect you to do your job. And I think that they need to hear from us, again, respectfully. You get more flies with honey than you do with force or whatever. So whatever the saying is, but so we want to be respectful and we want them to hear from us. But then the other one is, you'll notice that we went back to the district attorney's office. You know, Madam District Attorney could step in at any time, and we have reason to believe that she has what she needs to do that. Now, whether or not she does that, we don't know. But we need her to hear from us. And it just so happens that she's running for reelection, and she has kind of cranked up her reelection campaign, Patsy for DA. And we had a good group of folks that respectfully let them hear from us on her social media last week. And every time we see them on social media, hashtag Michael Chappell is innocent. When are you going to fulfill your campaign promise and bring integrity back to the district attorney's office in Gwinnett County? Again, respectfully, we don't want them to necessarily look at us as an enemy. We don't want to be their enemy. We're not their enemy, but we want to hold them accountable. They want our votes. They want us to vote for them. Well, we want them to do their job, and we want them to, fulfill their campaign promises. So respectfully, kindly, professionally, we need to let them know that that's what we expect and that we're not going away. So for right now, Call Right Scream focuses on the district attorney's office and her staff and the Bar Association grievance council. That's who we're focusing on for Call Right Scream. Now, as we get closer to the habeas, that's probably going to change, and we're probably going to go back to some of the folks that we were contacting before. But we want to hit that at the right time. So be prepared for a change to come in a couple of weeks or so. But for right now, let's focus on the district attorney's office and the Bar Association, and let them hear from us every day.
And so just so you are following here, folks, if you don't know where to get that information, Henry's already got it laid out for you in a post. So pay attention there. I believe it's going in featured if it's not already. And you should be able to get all the information. Joe Rogan is also listed, and so is Tucker Carlson's podcast, the information to get that out as well. But we also wanted to encourage you to think about the event that we are trying to put together for July 22nd. It will be a night of entertainment and fundraising with Henry and Sean Kipe. It'll be a production that's going to be based on In the Land of Lies. It's going to be a wonderful time. And so it'll be that Saturday evening on July 22nd. So mark your calendars. But here's the thing. We're gauging numbers based on who's responding to the message that we created. The event is not actually set up yet, but based on your comments is how we're gauging how many people might be interested and whether we can really do this. And y'all, we want to do this, okay? Wouldn't it be something if that could even be a celebration party for Mike? So, we'll just keep our fingers crossed and praying, sending them up. So keep focused on all of these things that Call Right and Scream. Don't forget, Donate for Justice. We're doing great. We've been fundraising and trying to hit our $30,000. Y'all keep coming on with that. The $5 thing is great. If you can do more, obviously do more. Anything else before we close out, Henry?
I just wanted to touch on, you mentioned the featured section. So in the featured section now, I have the entire series of On This Day, including the live discussions that you and I had about particular days and the events of certain days. So starting at, actually, I believe even starting before April 3rd, but starting at April 3rd and moving through the month of April and through the month of May. And there may be a few of those articles yet to come, but they're all in the featured section in order. So if someone is new to the group, if you're trying to have someone learn about the case and really understand Mike's case, that is real time, how it occurred from start to finish. And so that's a great resource to have people go through those articles. And that is in the featured section. Right now, the Call Right Scream is not in the featured section. I can move it up there, but I think it's one of the first couple of posts, and it says right at the top, call right screen update. So if you'll want to look at that, it's got all of that information that Tammy mentioned in there. And I also wanted to say one last thing. To those of y'all who know Jenny Foxworth, and those of you who know her from the podcast will know her as Nurse Jenny.
Yeah.
And she's our shield maiden. She's having a rough time. She's in the hospital. She doesn't want too much information out, but we want you to keep her in your prayers and her family in your prayers. And we're pulling for our shield maiden, Nurse Jenny. And I just wanted to mention that.
Absolutely. I'm glad you did. She's been in there 11 days now. And so we're going to keep her privacy and not share all the details, but
yeah, sorry if I said too
up.
much.
Oh, no, I don't think so. I was thinking about sending something out as a prayer request too. And you can't get enough prayers, you know? So folks, thank you so much. We appreciate all of you, and we will see you back here next Monday night at 7.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Tammy.